How's it going, guys? Chris, Bobcat King 88. This is my tutorial on how to build a 1v1 build fight map. There are explosives in this map which will destroy the build so that you don't have to end a game and restart it. Otherwise, your map just keeps filling up with builds and builds. With this tutorial, it's going to teach you every single thing you need to know about how to make, from start to finish, a custom map where you can just hit the buttons and it destroys all the builds in the map. So do me a favor. I really appreciate the support. If you haven't already, please follow, subscribe, share this video, comment and let me know what types of videos and custom maps you'd like to see. I can do a lot of really awesome things with creative and creating maps. I have a lot of fun with it. So I can make some maps. If you guys have some great ideas, share them with me. I really appreciate that. But again, any support is much appreciated. And with that, here's the video. First thing you're going to do is go into your inventory and then go to creative and devices. There's only a few devices you're going to need in here. It's really simple and easy to build this. I mean, it'll probably take 15 minutes to do the entire thing. So we're going to need player spawn pads. We're going to need a barrier. We're going to need the team settings and inventory. We need a explosive device and a button. First thing, we're going to go ahead and place down the team settings and inventory. And right next to it, we're going to place down a barrier plate device. Barrier plate device. So we're going to go 30 by 30. I'm going to leave it invisible. You don't want the base visible during the game. You don't want really anything visible during the game except for the button. That's the only one. You want to enable during all phases. You want it to block weapon fire, and then we're actually going to be inside of this as a hollow box, not on the outside of it like you're looking at a box. So we're going to switch that to hollow. So I'm going to do it as high as possible so that we can build all the way up. That's basically all your settings. Now you can see the size that we're going to be playing in. Okay. So then the next thing we're going to do is customize our team settings and inventory. This one you want to put grant items on respawn and make sure it's on condition grant always, which it should already be. I like to equip the first item. I don't like to be starting out with pickaxes, but you can do whatever you want on that. Again, you don't want it visible during the game. People can shoot them and destroy them, and it just makes your map look ugly. Grant ammo with weapons, you want that on yes. So those two things are done. In creative here, you want to go to weapons, and you can pick any weapons you want. For practice maps, I like to do gray weapons because the battles are longer. You get more practice. You're not just, you get shot a few times, you're dead because it's a legendary gun. Then we're going to go to play, and then you can drop the items. It will put them in your inventory in whatever order you drop them in. So now our guns are good. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and place some bombs. So we're going to resize that, make it as big as possible. And it also makes it easier for spacing, which is also why I'm going to have grid snap on 1. That's going to make life a lot easier on spacing. Big important part here. We're going to have a lot of bombs throughout this map. You want to edit the map or edit the bomb, the explosive device, before you start copying and pasting. If you just start placing explosive devices all over the place, you don't copy and paste one that's already set, then you have to go through to every single one and change the settings, and it is a pain in the butt. So what we're going to do here is go indestructible. You don't want the bombs blowing up and not being usable during the rest of the game. We want that blast radius to 5, player damage 0, structure damage, actually this one we want, I usually throw this at like 1,000 or whatever. I mean, structures aren't that strong, but you can even go higher, 5,000, because it's just going to destroy the player built things. Not back, you want off. You do not want it to explode on proximity, because that means if anybody walks up to it, it's going to blow up. You don't want that. You want it when somebody goes and hits the button to blow it up. And that's a good point. You want to make sure that in your game settings, you have fall damage off, because if somebody goes and pushes the button, you're going to fall and die. The point of pushing the button to reset the builds is because it'll fill up with builds. You don't want to have it just a map completely full of builds and have to end the game, restart. You just run over to the buttons and you hit one and it blows everything up. So you want fall damage off, since this is just practice. You want the audio and video. You can keep it on if you want. I like to have it off. If you keep it on, it makes a big explosion sound. You see a big explosion. You don't see the explosive device, but it just doesn't look great in my opinion. And then also, again, visible during game, you want that on no. You also want collisions off, and do not show health bar. Play audio off. And this is one of the important things. There's 3 things that we're going to be doing for channels. It's important to have the first one be to receive from the button to the explosive device. But then a lot of guys will use triggers or they'll use trackers, different things to receive and relay signals to reset the explosive devices, because the explosive devices won't automatically reset. I make that really easy. I go ahead and I say channel 1, it'll explode when receiving from channel 1. It will reset when it receives from channel 2, and it will transmit when it explodes on channel 3. Okay, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and copy that. I'm going to move it 5 spaces over. And I'm going to pop over here, and I'm going to change on this one. Everything's exactly the same, but I'm going to change this to reset when receiving from 3 and explode when exploded, transmit on 2. That way, as these are spaced apart, when we hit a button, they're both going to blow up on 1. But in that split second that it takes for that explosive device to regenerate, that signal's being transferred and sent. All the 3s are sending to 2s to reset them, and all the 2s are sending to 3s to reset them. So you don't have to have any kind of triggers. You don't have to mess with a bunch of different devices and a bunch of different channels that you're working with. It's really simple and easy. So then we're going to copy and paste these things. We want drop on. We don't want it to be hanging out in the sky. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit bigger there, but it should be just fine. And then here we'll go 1, 2. Actually, this one, we're so close to the edge. I'm probably just going to leave it like that. You won't be able to see any of these anyway, so it doesn't actually really matter too much. So then we're going to select all these. And we're going to copy them. And we're going to make sure you're above so that they'll actually drop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Drop a bunch. Golden. So now we have explosive devices all over the map. Any builds that are built anywhere in this map, when we hit the big green button, it's going to blow everything up. You'll see that here in a minute. So next we're going to go ahead and do some buttons. Like that, kind of in the middle of the bombs. I'm going to cut that. I'm going to bring it up, take drops off, because we actually do want the button to be floating in the air. And I'm going to resize this one as well. You can make the buttons really big. They don't need to be huge. Maybe I need to take grid snap off. There you go, about right there. That's a decent sized button right there. Then I'm gonna hold B to change to rotation. I like to butt these up so they're like basically right there. Let's get that lined up. Is that good? Beautiful. So those are nice and lined up. What I'm going to do on this one, really simple. One thing. When interacted with, transmit on channel 1. That's all we're doing. When interacted with, transmit on channel 1. Because that's going to send that signal to every single one of those explosive devices. With grid snap on, I'm going to take these, copy. Alright, drop down here. Try to kind of line it up, just to keep it looking somewhat good. And that's the last one for there. And then somewhere around here in the middle. And I do buttons all over the place just because it sucks when you want to reset the builds and there's no button. And you have to like run for a mile to get the friggin' buttons. It sucks. So then what we're going to do is copy these. A lot of copying and pasting makes life simple. Except for when you miss it. Then you have to go back and reselect them. That's a pain in the butt. And again, make sure that you set the when interacted with, transmit on to 1 before you start copying and pasting. You start copying and pasting ahead of time, you're going to really hate life when you have to go back through and change every single one. It's a lot of time and effort to go through and change them one at a time. Tell you what. Alright, so now we're going to copy. I'm going to come over here. And they don't need to be exact. I mean, you're just throwing buttons everywhere so that you've got a lot of them to interact with. I'm going to throw some over here. A little bit off the ground. Alright, and then we're going to come back here. And with Grid Snap, you can take the time to make them so they're all perfectly lined up. It really doesn't matter all that much. This is just a practice map. You want it to look nice, feel nice, but you don't have to get too crazy with it. Alright, that's it. So literally every single thing in this game is done now and ready to be played. The only thing that would need to be changed is the game settings, which you can go in and customize them for whatever type of game you want. Alright, so like I always go through and I put on build fight maps, I always do like unlimited mats. Because you're practicing building, you don't want to have to worry about how much mats you have. You're not just doing one battle with somebody, then you go harvest more, right? So we can build all this stuff. You know, we can go have some fun with our builds. And then all we have to do is go to the nearest button. Everything blows up. Completely resets the entire map. And one thing I realized I forgot to do is show you how to do the spawn pads. You may already be familiar with spawn pads. You may already know how to do all that. But just in case you aren't, they're in the device in creative. That's what it looks like. Little blue hologram. It says player spawn pad. Okay. So I'm going to place one and show you, and then I'm just going to delete it because I don't need it anymore. So before you go and copy and paste this all over the map, just again, same as with the bombs, we do want to use it as island start because otherwise you have to glide down, and that's annoying and pain in the butt. We do not want it visible during games, just like the last one. Again, you really don't want much of anything visible during games. So that's really the only thing you're changing, is at least for this game type, for what we're building here. All we're changing is to make it so it's not visible during games. Always put invisible to no. And then you're just going to copy that thing and you're just going to go paste it all over. You can change the direction. That's the direction that you'll be facing when you do it. And I just put them, I mean, you can see how many I have. They're all over the place. So tons of potential places to spawn. I'm going to delete that. All right, so we're going to go here into the settings for my island. First thing, we're going to start in game. Voice chat, you want to just leave it at all. Max players, you can choose however many people you want in there. For something like this, I just leave it at 16. There are certain games that I'll set to only 8 or 10 or 12 people. You can set this as, cooperative, multiple teams, whatever you want. For this, we're just going to do free for all. Leave the team size dynamic. Don't have to worry about default class identifier, any of those. Spawn limit, you want infinite for the purposes of a build fight. Practice map like this, and all the settings I'm giving you are for the purpose of a build fight practice map. After last spawn, well, there is no last spawn because your spawn limit's infinite. I just did one round in unlimited time, so unlimited or time limit none. Win condition, I put most score wins. Again, this is just a practice map, so it's not like you're actually playing to keep track of score, but it is kind of nice to see who's in first place. Eliminations to end off, object, all that stuff, score to end, all those things, last man standing off. I put that to spawn. I think it's set on spectate as the standard. You don't want it on that. You want it on spawn. You want, if somebody joins the game midway, you don't want to have to end the game, restart it. You just want to go have them jump right in. Spawn location pads. You can do sky, but I always do spawn pads. I like to do auto start immediate. And then game start countdown only 3 seconds. I want to say that's normally at 5 or something, but I like 3. And then keep player built structures between rounds. You want that off. You don't want, if you do end up ending the game and restarting it, you don't want all those to be left there. You want that off. And that's with most maps you're going to make. Elimination score, you get 1 point. Sometimes I'll do like 1 point for an assist and 3 points for an elimination, just to kind of change things up. It's kind of fun. If you're doing teams, you can throw on a friendly fire if you want to. I've never done that in any of my team games, but you could. There's all these different things, player collision on, vehicle impacts, but that's pretty much all you're doing in the game settings. I always change my time of day to like 12 p.m. or 1, 2, 3, something like that. I don't like it to be changing. I think it's annoying as crap, but you can do whatever you want with that. Same thing with fog and color, light color, all that kind of stuff. You can do overshields and all that stuff as well. I'm keeping them off. Infinite ammo, I always put on. Whenever you're doing a build practice map like this, I always do infinite ammo on. I don't do consumables for these, but I will do where when you get a kill, you get some health. You'll see that. Infinite resources on. If you want aim assist off, you can turn off aim assist, but I always leave it on. It's part of the game. Allow building all, allow edit. You want to leave that on default. You can change it to anyone, and you can edit each other's builds. That is, I've done that, different game types like that. It's pretty fun, but you don't have to do that. Building can destroy environment. I always do that to no, because if you're going to do like any kind of prefabbed from the gallery, like buildings or structures, when people build in like up against one, it'll destroy that building, blow out part of the wall or whatever. So I always change that to no. Environment damage all, structure damage all. Then you leave the pickaxe stuff alone. If you're doing teams, you could do down but not out. Throw that in there. And then eliminated players items, you actually want to keep those. And then allow item drop and allow item pickup, yes. Oh yeah, respawn time, I always change that to 1. 1 second. Spawn immunity time, default. There are some games that I do where I do no spawn immunity. I like my sliders gun game. That's such a fun game. I would keep fall damage off, because again, people are going to be destroying the builds like crazy. That's the purpose of this map, is to be practicing builds, so you're going to want to destroy those. You don't just want the map filling with builds, and you don't want everybody dying every time that happens. So I've turned that off, and then leave on mantling, sprinting, all that kind of stuff. Leave sliding and all that kind of stuff. I would turn off glider redeployment, because otherwise every time you're hitting A twice, it's going to hurry and deploy that glider. If you jump off and hit A, you're trying to mantle, it's going to try and do that. It's a pain in the butt. So I turn that off. And then I like to put, for this type of game, I like to do the nameplates always on, because then you can see each other easier, find each other to actually battle, right? If you want to leave it off, leave it off. It's totally whatever you want, but I like to have them on. And then health granted on elimination, we have it at 100. So then we're going to go to UI, and I always change the game score display time to 5 seconds instead of 15. So the game winner and round winner are 3. The game score and round score are 5. Next thing I change is win condition. I like to do it based off of eliminations. This is for most any game I build. I mean, there are certain ones that have a specific purpose, and I'll change that. But I like to do win condition eliminations, then tiebreaker, how many times you die. And then display overmap, yes. Display scoreboard, yes. And then I don't mess with anything else down there. So that's pretty much it. That's all you're working on as far as your settings. So once you're done with those settings, your game is ready to go. All right, so I start the game here, and you can see the only thing around are the build buttons, right? You build a bunch of stuff. That's not what I wanted to do. But just to show you a whole bunch of builds, just randomly. And then we come over to a button. And everything gets destroyed. All right, there you have it. Everything you need to know to create your own 1v1 build fight map. I hope that this helps a lot. Again, I really appreciate the support. If you can like the video, share, follow, subscribe, comment, and let me know what types of questions, if any, you have, anything that you'd like to see in the future in my videos. I really appreciate it, and have some fun out there making your own.